Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. Now, are you ready for Dark Dimension 7? Well, good news is I'm not really either. I'm only level 98. I still have, I'm going to say probably about maybe even a month before I'm 100. I don't know how long that's going to take. I haven't been energy refreshing as much as I maybe should have. But nonetheless, I want to talk about in today's video some tips that you can do when Gear 19, which comes out tomorrow as store reset, assuming nothing huge like screws up, but that's like their plan anyways. And what you should be looking out for, and what I think are going to be some good ideas going forward. I know most of us, the 99.5% of us, are not going to hit Dark Dimension 7 for a good at least 6 months. We'll have more time to talk about that, but it's going to be a while. But there's some things that you should watch out for, I think, along the way. So if you're ready to know exactly what that's going to be, let's boil this down. Now, one thing that I did want to kind of point out in this video, which, is not going to be relevant for a couple of weeks, actually. I thought it was really interesting. You might have caught this yourself. But in the bonus difficulty of the 6th anniversary event, which, by the way, is awesome. And I want to kind of add, there's something I want to add in just for other players who might be watching this that aren't like, hardcore endgame like us. But on is it week 3, week 4? There is some, right here, actually, it's on this one. On week 4, so in 3 weeks' time, there is going to be 33 Crimson Gear Raid Orb fragments. Now, I find this really interesting because it's a Raid Orb fragment, which suggests a couple of things, which I don't know for certainty. Maybe the envoys know, but I don't know, that this orb is going to become available, right? And it's going to be a Raid Orb. So this suggests a couple of things that maybe they're either going to retroactively add this into the current Incursion 2 raid. I don't know. Or there's actually going to be a new raid sooner than we think. It could be with the Cabal release, which honestly would be also pretty soon, which I think would be within 2 weeks, where you can start to earn these Raid Orb fragments. I think by the time that we can pick this up off of the node, I think we'll find some way for it to be available free to play. I was kind of making a little bit of a joke on the blog post from Friday, suggesting that this would be an entirely whale fest. I mean, it doesn't really matter because we need so many pieces. It's a brand new gear tier. You need uniques, you need origin gear, you need catalysts, right? Like it's going to be an insane amount of gear for everyone. So why wouldn't they open this up to free to play to slow drip this? I don't know. I think we will be getting this, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. Now, I do want to say that even the first week is amazing. I think that it's a good use of your cores actually to consider coring this energy. I've been doing this on my baby account, my boosted baby account. We'll talk about that one too a little bit. But this energy is really good, and you can actually farm this up to 40 times per node. So this has a huge, I've already done this quite a bit, but you can get a lot of teal catalysts on this bonus 1-1. Really good. And if you happen to need any origin gear pieces, there is other nodes here where you can farm that, but really good value, and the XP is actually twice as much as showcase energy, so you're getting 10, aka 1-to-1. Now unfortunately you're only getting 100 energy, not 120 like you do for campaign energy, but I think this has really good value because the drops are really good in this. So no matter like basically what kind of tier that you're farming, whether it's teal, whether it's orange, whether it's blue and purple, and actually if you're a new account, if you're under level 70, level 65, you should be farming this stuff. Honestly, story 1-2 for blue origin gear, trust me, this is really amazing for lower level accounts, and this has been amazing for my boosted account. And 1-4 for purple origin gear, I have actually refreshed this 6 times for 300 cores on my boosted baby account with some of the extra cores that I've been getting, because the XP is actually pretty good and the drops are insane, the amount of numbers that you get. So whether you're a new account, whether you're a account like my own on my main account here, there's some pretty good stuff that you can be farming here every day. Now, do I recommend coring for endgame players? It depends on how badly you need these catalysts. I've seen people who are still like missing 4,000 teal catalysts for their Dark Dimension 6 and stuff. And so yeah, I maybe would probably recommend coring this at least a couple of times, because not only are you going to get XP, you still need it towards 100, but the drops are huge. Like 8 per hit is really big. So I definitely recommend that. And you can get multiple hits of the same item if that makes sense. Like it just depends on your luck. So some really good value there. Now, secondly, what I wanted to talk about in this video is we need to talk about the supply store. Actually, you know what? Before we talk about the supply store, we should probably, we should probably go back to the blog really quickly. So, for those of you who maybe missed this part of the blog, Dark Dimension 7 is coming next week. That part really doesn't matter for like 99.5% of us. It doesn't matter. Because like I said earlier on, this is not going to become a thing for like 6 months. And we're going to have plenty of time to talk about the progression of Dark Dimension 7 along the way. But like I said, Gear Tier 19 does come out tomorrow. It's actually March the 6th. It was somewhere in here. It was at it's right here actually. The demonic red gear, March 6th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Now, it did not actually say. I've been told from others that it will be in the supply store. It wasn't clear in the blog post if this was going to be the case, but I want to go to. I don't think there's ever been an instance where it hasn't been in the supply store, and this also is ways for all players, but especially whales and krakens, to refresh the supply store over and over again to pick up stuff and spend gold and whatnot in there. So I'm going to assume this will be the case as well. How much is this going to cost, you might wonder? I don't know. And so that's a scary part too, is that I don't know what G19 gear is going to cost. But one thing that I think that everybody should look out for and should be buying as soon as they see this gear is going to be red or crimson unique pieces. So that's going to be this stuff, right? Like the promethium, the osmium, the miasma, and all of that stuff, like immediately. Not necessarily the catalyst or the origin gear or anything else, because that's going to cost you not only a shit ton, but you're going to need so much of it per character. I don't think it's probably worth buying, but the uniques, absolutely. Whatever the cost happens to be, buy them ASAP, because you're going to be using a lot of this across multiple characters, and you're going to need it. Now, we'll talk about this in a separate video when, this goes live and the costs go live. I just want to give people a heads up. Whether or not you want to actually core the supply store to do this, I think it's too early. I personally, I think because this is a new gear tier, a new color, I don't think it's worth the cores for me personally, but I'll have some more time to maybe think about that a bit better. I think it's just because there's too much stuff that you need to buy when it comes to new colors being released. You're going to need to, like I said, catalysts, uniques, mini uniques, origin pieces. Like there's so much that goes into that, that I think that it's just going to be too much and too staggering on the gold cost to justify refreshing with cores. And then if you're just doing the refreshing for Crimson uniques, I think at that point you probably have some time before you do get into Dark Dimension 7. We'll talk about that though in a separate video, because all this stuff I really don't want to get into. I think at best, I think City will, whatever we're using right now as the best Dark Dimension 6 City, I think is what we're probably going to end up using for Dark Dimension 7 City. I think because it's the first section, I don't think there's going to be a lot of releases in the City section that are going to usurp what we have with like Sinister 6, Robbie, Gwenum, that kind of thing. So I think that that's probably going to be the best. And also I want to use this time to point out that I'm going to be releasing my new tier list, which is going to be, I think, tomorrow. So that is going to contain as much future proofing of DD6 and 7 as possible. But when it comes to these later lanes, obviously I don't know what's going to happen. There's probably going to be some cosmic characters that come out between now and 6 months, and even legendary characters as well. So that's not set in stone necessarily. But I think City is probably pretty solid at this point, I would say. Now, I want to talk about that in relation to the uniques. We talked about this, talked about how that's super important. This is going to be the number one importance when we're talking about G19 Crimson gear. And so you'll want to kind of pay special attention to some of the uniques that are very highly coveted, right? Not the augmented adamantium. Although, honestly, at this point, I would pick up everything, because you never know when a new character is going to release that you're going to want to take up that high. But there's obviously some that stand out a lot more than others, like Alien Spores, right? So right now, I would specifically say it's for Super Scrawl and for Void Knight, because you're going to want to probably G19 even these highly meta characters first. It's going to be weird, right? Because probably that you'll want to, upgrade these highly meta characters first, especially for other game modes, but not just Dark Dimension. It's a weird scenario, right? Because of how it ties with Dark Dimension, but also all of these other aspects of the game as well, specifically PvP and people who care a lot about Cosmic Crucible. Arcane Magic, obviously Black Knight, right? Like that's huge right now. Astral Energy, there's tons of characters. There's Apocalypse, there is Icarus if you're still using him. That's pretty big right now. And basically anything that I don't have over 100 for seems to be uniques that I probably made good use of. Hammer Tech right now, I think as well because of Vulture. There's also, I don't think we'll be using Red Goblin Dark Dimension 7, but yeah, I want Vulture upgraded for sure. Miasma, huge one. Not only did we just get Cosmic Ghost Rider today, he was released, but we do have Dormammu, who's a mythic character. We have Ghost Rider Ravi. So there's at least in Doom, right? So at least 3 or 4. If you can pick up tons of Crimson Miasma, that's going to be huge. And there's some plenty of other ones as well. You know, the Osmium, obviously, big one there. Tons of insane characters. Gambit, Vol, maybe Nova if we're still forced to use them for Dark Dimension 7, but I hope not. But yeah, lots of big characters there. And so this is just something that you should be keeping an eye out, right? This is going to make or break a lot of your gear upgrades because uniques have always been the bottleneck more than minis, in my opinion, especially when a new character comes out. And I want to use this time to point out actually that even teal uniques are still something that I would keep like 120 plus of for almost all of them if you can, because you never know when a new character is going to come out and you need 65 teal uniques just to get them to gear 18. And then if they're a new character you want to take into Dark Dimension, then obviously you're going to need the Crimson stuff after that, right? So always make sure that you have a good stockpile of these uniques because, you know, you're going to go through them pretty fast when a new character comes out and requires it. So that's something that I wanted to point out there. But if you take a look, and I want to reset the filter a little bit here and just kind of select, can I select teal as a color? I don't think I can. But there's like, just my point is that when a new color gear tier comes out, there's just so many items that you need across the board that I just don't think that buying a couple of them individually out of the supply store, you're going to lose your money like nothing else, right? Like it's going to be so expensive for you to do that. And so I have a feeling that new raids are going to be around the corner. I think that we'll probably see it within a couple of weeks and then we can start building it ourselves. I really hope so because I'm actually getting a little bit bored of the current raid content. I did post a video a couple weeks ago, I think. I don't remember when it was now, but basically talking about how I was getting a little bit bored in the game just because I feel like they kind of did things really weird with this new Incursion Raid 2. Right? Like this is essentially Incursion Raid 1.2 I don't know, 2.4 whatever, you know, because they did it with the first strike and it was just a whole massive mess. So I don't know if they're going to go back and add this Crimson Raid Orb into here and then add difficulties, or if we're just waiting for a brand new raid to come out, which should be coming pretty soon with this. I want to call it the next patch, but honestly, because we're on 7.7 right now, are we getting 7.8 or are we getting like 7.75 with the release of Cabal and then maybe a new raid at the same time? I'm not sure if this is just an extension of this patch or if we're getting a brand new patch, but it's going to be coming around the corner really soon. And the reason why is because we know that's going to happen because the news posting, and it should be the events for March, was listed somewhere. We got that right. I thought there was a calendar. Was there not a calendar for March? I thought we got an actual graphic for it. But it did show Iron Patriot somewhere. Did I miss it? Is it way the hell up here? I don't know. Maybe I didn't actually see it. Pretty sure I saw something that showed Iron Patriot for the end of March. So that means that we will be getting him in an offer pretty soon because realistically, Cosmic Ghost Rider is out now and there's nobody else coming, right? So within the next 10 days even, there has to be a patch coming soon. And I'm really hoping that includes a new raid or new raid difficulties or just some way to get the Crimson Raid Orbs farmable soon. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. Do you think we're getting a new patch? Do you think they're just going to drop it into the current Incursion Raid, or is there going to be a new raid? Guess we'll find out. So until next time, everybody, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later and enjoy the rest of your day. Boilon, signing out.